So cancel culture is, of course, something we've heard conservatives bang on about for the last, I don't know, 4 years. And I think it's dying down a tiny bit, even like using this phrase, because I think there's a collective acceptance, maybe not like people coming out and saying it. Yeah, cancel culture in the way it was being described, like, doesn't really exist. And there actually is cancel culture, but it usually comes from like censorship of the left, demonizing the left, sending police into college campuses to brutalize protesters. Like, that seems like canceling people for free speech. Not, I don't know, Gina Carano not getting a new season of The Mandalorian because of like racist social media posts, right? But we were meant to believe the latter was a great example of cancel culture. I think what's being proved more and more is there is basically no repercussions for doing terrible stuff. Like, I know we all know that deep down, like, some of the worst people in the world are also some of the most powerful people. But there did used to be like some sort of bar. Like, you could do something in the past and you could be cancelled, or you could even face repercussions until you'd offer like a significant apology and outline how you're going to do better. These days, what you do is you don't apologize. You say it's all lies, even when the allegations are insanely credible, and you just carry on. I made a video about Mr. Beast this week, and I asked in that video, do people want to see this video on so-called cancel culture not even existing anymore? And he was a great example. But I want to talk about him to start with, then Dr. Disrespect, who has already made a massive comeback and is now, again, the second biggest streamer on YouTube. And this is a guy who admitted to what he was accused of. I think the main element of all of this is you're only as accountable as the audience you cultivate. Because if you cultivate an audience who really don't give a shit about morals or anything like that, stands to reason you're going to probably survive even some of the worst allegations. Whereas if you're someone who like purports to have morals or tries to take like the moral high ground, if your audience are along for that ride, then it stands to reason they will probably leave you if you do something terrible. But even then, it doesn't happen. Think of all the like leftist or left adjacent personalities who've also done a load of shit and then just continued on like it's no big deal and people don't care. And this like is just a whole combination of things. It's like the 24-hour news cycle. It's just like the absolutely overwhelming amount of celebrities, even being able to keep up on what a celebrity has done bad is actually hard because every day we're absolutely bombarded with news about all of this stuff. And I don't want to be cliche, but as someone who does remember Donald Trump entering the politics in a massive way, I do want to talk about that. And I know it's like really kind of like basic lib analysis. I do think Donald Trump did like basically poison the culture, and how he bulldozed his way through so many allegations that on their own would sink any other political candidate. He just carried on and he became president. But let's just think about celebrities who've done like terrible things and have rightly been ostracized. Even then, they've made some sort of comebacks. Like Mel Gibson is a great example. Obviously caught saying insanely racist stuff and was ostracized for a fair few years, has made a comeback, but it's pretty clear if this didn't happen, then he'd probably be a way bigger star today than he is. And of course, he's always going to have that hanging around him. But then you ask yourself, if this happened to Mel Gibson first in 2024, how would the reaction be different? And we all know it would be different. And there can be like loads of different things. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm off of this one. But Donald Trump and Donald Trump's first campaign for president, I think really just changed the way we deal with stuff and basically showed people that because of just, like 24-hour news, trying to keep up with all this stuff, if you just kind of like bulldoze your way through it, you can survive. So if you remember, Donald Trump announced his campaign in 2015. I remember this happening and everyone thought it was a joke, but he starts off by being really racist about like Mexican immigrants, right? And that set the tone for the entire campaign. And everyone thought like every new thing that comes out against Trump, that will be the end of him. everything. And then, of course, you had the tapes of him talking about assaulting women and saying that you could do anything you want. But anyone else, that would destroy them. It didn't matter. Really didn't matter for him. And he just kept going and going. And because he cultivated this absolutely fanatical following, it really didn't matter. Like, him giving in and him suspending his campaign, him dropping out, the only people he would satisfy by doing that were people who hated him and people who wouldn't vote for him anyway. So there was literally like no incentive for him to do this. And of course, as he's running up to becoming president, he says even more terrible stuff. Loads more allegations come out against him. And he just keeps going and going. Then he does become the president. Now, what's even more wild about him is he's got worse. Obviously, he's actually faced legal repercussions for loads of the terrible shit he's done over his lifetime. And despite all that, and despite all the controversy when he was president, including obviously inciting a riot, trying to make sure Joe Biden wasn't made president, he could still be the next president because he's just bulldozed his way through everything. And because he just like bombards everyone with so much shit all the time, it's even hard to know what to be angry at. I find Trump, like, obviously, like, this gross, fascist, capitalist, con artist, but I find it hard in myself to get passionate about him, like, in an angry way, because there's just so much stuff. I'm like, what do I even get mad about? I can't even think. There's so much terrible shit he's done. How can I even begin to pick apart, like, what, you know, makes me hate him the most? And of course, you know, not relevant to the video too much, you also have the element of he is just a product of the American capitalist system, and his path to power was enabled by the same people who often put other people in power. So it's the whole systems problem he exists. But I do think, just from a cultural perspective, outside of economics, even outside of just like general electoral politics, he just completely shifted people's accountability. And now there is just no incentive to apologize. Literally none. Because people now realize you don't need everyone to like you. It doesn't matter. You can still make loads of money if you just have that hardcore audience. And yeah, it could be a lot smaller, but they will never, ever leave you. And it's weird to say a parasocial relationship with Trump, but the political relationship with Trump and the cult around him from groups like white evangelicals in America is just something that can't be broken at this point. And to transition that to like personalities online, it seems to be a similar case for a lot of YouTubers. But like with Donald Trump, you're basically the audience you cultivate. So Donald Trump, he tells you like who he is. He says all these absolutely horrific things, and if you still like him afterwards, there's pretty much nothing he can do that can make you, you know, turn against him. But I always thought there was one thing that was still the bar, and that's what this year's proved. I always thought there was still a bar when it came to preying on children. And it seems now we've reached the territory of, yeah, people don't care about that either. If you're a married 35-year-old man who's texting a 17-year-old to meet up with you at TwitchCon, doesn't matter. If you are a 30-year-old celebrity who picks up a 16-year-old girl from school to have a relationship with them and have credible allegations of assault against you from this person, yeah, that don't matter either, actually. That don't matter. If you are the biggest YouTuber on the platform who's really popular with children, hiring people to run your company who legally aren't allowed to be around children, yeah, you might as well just go and launch a Lunchables alternative targeted at children. I thought conservatives cared about the children, and it seems to be conservatives who don't care about any of this shit. It's conservatives who really don't give a shit about any of the terrible shit all these people do. Outside of Beast, most of these people have just cultivated a conservative audience. I guess, like I said, what surprises me now is they pretend, oh, we care so much about the children, don't tell them what a gay person is or a transgender person is, but Russell Brand picking up girls from school is actually fine, by the way. Dr. Disrespect, what he did is actually fine because 17 is basically 18 anyway. Despite the fact he's a 35-year-old millionaire, you're like, yeah, 17, she could be 17 and 360 days old. That is literally an argument people making online. So let's carry on from my last video about Beastie Boy, right? So Mr. Beast was the YouTube golden boy. YouTube would literally just push him on everyone. If you're a YouTube creator, you'd always see like those videos. It's made by like the creators program where they'd be like interviewing Mr. Beast. Loads of people, I'll bring him up again, like Coffeezilla, would get Mr. Beast on their channel to talk about like how do you become a successful YouTuber. Everyone would shut down any criticism of this guy because if you criticized him, oh, you hate charity, man, because he cultivated an image of every penny I earn is going into my charities, and I'm actually poor and I lose money. And if you hate me, you just hate people doing good work for the community or for, I don't know, feeding the homeless, feeding poor people, building houses of people who don't have them. You hate that. You're a monster. So he carefully cultivated this brand. And then, of course, that dog pack video comes out, the first one, exposing a lot of his like fake lotteries, exposing a lot of the toxic culture at Mr. Beast. Makes another video showing Jake Weddle, of course, describing how he was exploited by Mr. Beast and how Mr. Beast generally exploits poverty for content. And then a third video that basically makes the Beast Company seem like the Catholic Church. And throughout all that, Mr. Beast is personally silent, but he keeps uploading. And the videos keep going viral. The videos keep doing insanely well. And although a lot of people online hate him, and it seems the general sentiment in the YouTube scene right now is he's really like toxic. And even if you didn't care what he did, you wouldn't be associated with him because everyone hates him. The YouTube hive mind now hates Mr. Beast. And with his newer videos, it's pretty clear he's deleting comments that bring up any of this stuff. But then, of course, like in my last video I bring up, he collabs with Logan Paul, who's also done loads of terrible shit and is actually supporting Donald Trump for president, and did a very friendly interview with him on his podcast. And they're launching a new Lunchables alternative called Lunchly. $4 for a load of muck for your children. Basically, that is what they're doing with KSI as well. And he's carrying on like normal, despite basically just the most horrendous allegations against him from these dog pack videos. And also at the same time, facing a lawsuit from his Amazon show, which just details basically the employees and contestants being treated like slave labor. All of that coming out, it's literally absolutely overwhelming. I have never seen someone be accused on YouTube of this much damage to so many people. Just keeps going. Doesn't matter. YouTube's not doing anything about it because he makes them so much money. And of course, most of his fan base are children. Children both don't care about this stuff because why would they? Children don't know any better. And they have that insane parasocial relationship. They all want to be Mr. Beast. They like the big shiny videos. They like the stupid stunts. So Mr. Beast knows that. They'll just tell their parents, oh, buy me Mr. Beast shit. And they'll do it because that's what parents do. He doesn't need to address the allegations. He just doesn't, because why would he? Him addressing it would only draw more attention to it for people like, I guess, me and others to talk about. The only thing he's had to withdraw from is posting on Twitter. Other than that, he hasn't done anything differently. And that's because we're now in a culture where people like don't really care. And I'd be really surprised if Mr. Beast doesn't make a massive comeback. Yeah, sure, people would have turned against him. People are also going to forget lots of his stuff. And also, when you've done so many bad things, like Mr. Beast, people sometimes find it hard to stay mad when you just keep getting bombarded with like new shit. Now, Mr. Beast is one of the worst examples, I'd say, but I can understand to an extent how people would maybe move on. So if we're talking about like the worker exploitation and the Firefest nature of Amazon, right? I can imagine a lot of people thinking, well, that's the Mr. Beast company. He's the head of it. So you'd say like it stops with him, but maybe you could say, oh, it got out of control. Like you expect Mr. Beast to be dealing with like the payroll issues and stuff like that. And then of course, with all the dog pack stuff, there's so much of it. Unless you're really honing on one point, again, it feels hard to just stick it onto Mr. Beast personally. So I can understand in this horrible culture where it feels like there's no accountability for anyone, I can understand how he might skirt through. But the Dr. Disrespect stuff is absolutely so wild to me. And this made me realize there's pretty much like no bar you can like hit now where you won't be basically ostracized from having a massive platform unless the platform holder itself steps in to basically kick you off. If you guys don't know, Dr. Disrespect was a massive Twitch streamer, and then he was randomly like banned off Twitch about 4 years ago. People never knew why. And then it started coming out like a few months ago that it was because he was messaging a 17-year-old explicit things and apparently arranging to meet up on the Twitch Whispers feature, which is like some messaging feature, right? And that all came out, and he initially addressed it, and Dr. Disrespect basically tried to be really combative at first, and then he was taking a break from streaming, he said, and then he came out and he admitted it. He admitted that he did it. This guy said he did that. A 35-year-old man who's cheated on his wife before was also tweeting inappropriate stuff to a 17-year-old through Twitch's own features, right? He then edited his tweet to remove the reference to minor and then put it back in, probably realizing it's drawing more attention to himself, right? Now, at that point, Dr. Disrespect was a massive YouTube streamer, one of the biggest, Call of Duty gaming streamers, whatever. And you'd think publicly admitting that on Twitter and everyone roasting you, everyone making videos, that you couldn't come back anytime soon. If you admitted that to people, oh my God, they'll be bringing that up forever. Every time I upload, every time I say anything, people will bring up the fact I admitted to this. But don't worry, nothing really happened. So I took these screenshots like a day ago. I go on just after he streamed. His most recent stream had 500k views after 8 hours. And then he first came back like over 2 weeks ago, probably now by the time you're watching it, to stream Space Marine. And his first stream back had 1 million views. And you get comments like this. Is he the first to beat being cancelled? Doc's been demonetized, banned, and labelled as guilty by everyone on the internet, including his friends. You have my support, Doc. He admitted it. He literally admitted it. He's on allegations that he even denied. He said he did it. Beating cancel culture makes you the 3 times congratulations champ, firm handshake. So glad to see the Doc back. Nobody hold us down. No matter how bad your day is, once you watch this man, you forget all the shit and sleep smiling. If you agree with what he did, maybe. We are your real friends. We got you. As a man, I want to apologise for the accusations I made. Your speech when you finally came back shed quite a bit of light on the situation. I hope they give you your affiliate back on YouTube. In my honest opinion, you should start your own streaming service. It's obvious the rats aren't going to stop going for you. Keep your head up and never stop pushing forward. Again, I apologise, Doc. You're a true legend at what you do. But yeah, again, when someone has allegations and they dispute them, not saying I would ever agree with this myself, but I can understand how if you just flat out deny stuff and there isn't like loads and loads of concrete evidence that is out there, people can just, lie to themselves and act like you're just being smeared for whatever reason. I can understand that. When you literally admit to this in front of the whole of Twitter and these people acting like he's some sort of victim of a cancel culture campaign, you know how insane the culture has got. I understand this argument. You could say, well, there's always going to be a minority of fans who just will support someone no matter what. But we're not talking about a minority here. This guy is once again the second biggest streamer on YouTube. The second biggest streamer you wouldn't probably let around your children. That's basically showing you YouTube themselves have no bar for this stuff. And just as a general like online society, like people don't care. He just goes back to it. And if we go on his channel, all of his streams have like 500,000 views each. And he's got thousands and thousands of comments being really, really supportive. Like this, 530k views, 36k likes for the VOD right away. And people talking about cancelled. Doc is living on a different world. Nobody even close. Am I saying Dr. Disrespect couldn't make an immediate comeback if Donald Trump didn't like set the tone nearly, 10 years ago? I'm not saying that. At the same time, I do think there's just been a general cultural shift where people just really don't give a about people being pieces of shit as long as they entertain them. And I've seen that a lot in regards to social media personalities. It's like, oh, I hate the artist, but like the art. They talk about when they mention like Dr. Disrespect, like Vosh, Russell Brand, and it's like they're YouTube creators, their personalities, their whole stuff is about them personally. And a lot of the time, these people are lecturing about politics and morals. Dr. Disrespect was, of course, on that like protect kids from LGBT people. And he's proven himself to be a danger to young people, right? And he's the one saying this. So this conservative bubble at the moment just means if you're conservative, who gives a shit? Now, on that note, we're going to talk about Russell Brand, but also I saw Happy Pancake, who's a pretty underrated YouTuber I've been watching recently, just posted on their profile that Cody Ko has also started posting again on social media. When it came out, he had a relationship with a 17-year-old when he was 25. Because he's probably looking at Dr. Disrespect saying, oh, he was 35. People don't give a shit about that, so I'm going to test it. I'm coming back too. And at this point, would you tell him he wouldn't be successful in doing this? Of course you wouldn't, because people are doing it right now, moving on to the next person who did the exact same thing, but even worse, Russell Brand. About a year ago, it came out, an insanely thorough Times article, multiple allegations of Russell Brand abusing women, some of them as young as 16, who he had a relationship with, where he would pick them up from school and he'd also assault them. Before the report dropped, he panically put out a YouTube video denying everything, looking very, very guilty. It all comes out, goes a bit silent, comes back. Now, what Russell Brand was doing anyway was grifting, and I've made multiple videos on this. He was grifting, so he was pandering more to like libertarians and conservatives. But what happened in the run-up to this stuff is he became more and more conservative. And what has happened since is he's become exclusively conservative, like actual fascist, and he's also become a born-again Christian, baptized by Bear Grylls, made a whole video on this, in the River Thames. Now, conservatives are all about protecting the children, I hear these days. Russell Brand picking up 16-year-olds from school. You wouldn't trust Russell Brand to be in a room alone with your kids either, like Dr. Disrespect. Do conservatives care? Of course not. I go on his channel. Now, I would say his videos don't do as well as they used to, but he's also migrated a lot to Rumble. Like, he's one of the faces of Rumble, right? So if you go on Rumble, he's being paid a shit ton by them. And if I go on his channel, he's still pulling in decent views where he's just doing fascist propaganda. You know, 50k in 3 hours, 200k in a day, 50k, 157, 340. I mean, the views aren't as good as they used to be, but I don't think he's really worrying about that because I bet he's making more money than ever. And he's also streaming every day and the streams are doing well, and he's also got all of his Rumble stuff. So he has firmly insulated himself by surrounding himself with conservatives, conservative Christians, American fascists, who not only don't give a shit about what he's done, they probably think it's fine. Because most of them do. Most of them don't think what people like Dr. Disrespect, what people like Russell Brand do, what going after 16-year-old and 17-year-old girls, they don't think that's bad. They would do it themselves. So for a lot of these people, not only are you brain rotted by Donald Trump just doing every terrible thing under the sun, when you have people like Dr. Disrespect and Russell Brand preying on young people, who cares? Who cares? They're not that young, are they? They're kind of close to 18 or 16 in the UK, age of consent. Russell, Dr. Disrespect, they still have these massive platforms, despite these both credible accusations towards Russell, and for Dr. Disrespect, he actually just admitted it. So it's like we live in such an insane world now, where if you told me, as like a 20-year-old, like 8 years ago, or let's say 19-year-old before Donald Trump was everywhere, that YouTubers could admit this stuff, YouTubers can have all these allegations. Like if Russell Brand got all those allegations 10 years ago, he'd be fucked. But now he's not. I know it's partly because he's a YouTuber now as well, but he was doing his YouTube channel back then too, and it was pretty successful. So even as a YouTuber, he'd be absolutely fucked. And that's just because now nothing matters. You can't do anything cancelable. You can just do terrible shit to people in your own life. That can be exposed, go away for a bit and come back. And I guess we should have seen this coming. Like people like JonTron went straight up fascist in 2017, made a video basically not saying sorry, saying he's misinterpreted, came back straight away. Maybe that was like the precursor to this. I think the playbook is address the allegations, downplay them or say they're fake, then come back months later like nothing happened. And this is just me like off the top of my head. I don't really have a thesis on this about like neoliberalism or capitalism or something, but I just feel like as a society, we've just been conditioned by things like the mass media, by things like celebrity influencers, by things just like by celebrity media. We just don't have any morals or standards anymore. Like, yeah, we'll have stuff like P. Diddy, and we'll all agree that's bad. Diddy is bad. Across the political spectrum, we're all saying that. How is Diddy that different from Donald Trump? Like, he really isn't that different. Like, Donald Trump hangs around with the exact same people. I guess when people get hated, it's all about, like, conspiracy theories. Like, think of, like, Epstein and everything like that. It's mainly about conspiracy theories to do with the powerful, where there seems to be, like, some sort of semblance of agreement on that guy was a terrible person, right? But when it comes to, like, more individualistic people who aren't as prolific, it seems to be like, oh, yeah, their fan base will never, ever leave them. It's also, like, a knock-on effect just from general society. Apathy is a good way to get through life these days, because if you care about anything, if you care about something, that's harder. Like, think about that. Think about that. Every single day, seeing absolutely terrible stuff on social media, on the actual media, and most people are gaslit into thinking that's just a normal part of life. To grow up seeing the most terrible shit imaginable, and you're conditioned to not care about it or be scared of having an opinion, and the apathy is rewarded. It's rewarded, like, in terms of the job world. It's better not to have an opinion on anything. It's better to not have any morals. The system rewards having no ethics. The system rewards not standing up for anything that challenges the powerful. The system rewards having absolutely no morals. So sure, sometimes someone will do something terrible and we can agree on it, but now it seems like even the bar of, yeah, not preying on kids, even that seems to be like just disintegrating before our eyes if you get in with the right group, mainly powerful conservatives. So I guess if I was going to tie it to like an economic thing, our economic system incentivizes people being gross, immoral, incentivizes cozying up with the powerful no matter what, incentivizes just being an absolute piece of shit to be successful, right? And with someone like Logan Paul and even Mr. Beast, you just bulldoze your way through it. Be a piece of shit, because you can make money. And when people see people like Mr. Beast, they think, oh, he's worked it out. That's the way to be. If I want to be successful, I'm just going to have to do terrible. And you see that with the way he's treating his workers on the Amazon show. It's like, I'll exploit all these people and treat them like crap. Who cares? I'm not going to face any accountability. And he's right. These people are right, especially on a massive capitalist platform like YouTube, which mainly only cares about ad revenue. Dr. Disrespect and Mr. Beast kicking them off the platform is just going to be such an insane financial hit, especially Mr. Beast, to YouTube. Are they going to do it? No. Despite the fact that there are terms in your contract basically with YouTube that say if you do stuff outside the YouTube channel, but that is terrible, your channel can be terminated. And I think loads of this stuff that's going on right now is perfect ground to terminate his channel, but that's not going to happen. So I guess the main thesis is, while Donald Trump might have fast-forwarded our descent into not giving a shit about any terrible thing powerful people do, the system as a whole conditions you to accept that as normal. And in a country like America especially, the aspirational culture is, well, that's just the way it's done. Con people, scam people, exploit workers to become successful, because that is the capitalist neoliberal American way, and you just got to play the game. It's far less lucrative to have principles, and it's worse for your mental health to care, so why bother? And I guess that's what is causing like mass apathy to all these public figures who are so influential on our lives or to the lives of people around us, and we just don't hold anyone to any standard anymore. And my last little hot take, which I'm sure will annoy some of you, we're also seeing that in the US election, not just for Donald Trump, by the way, for Kamala Harris, where she's not campaigning on anything. Universal healthcare? Where's that in the conversation? That was in the conversation when I was a bit younger in America, thanks to people like Bernie Sanders. What about ending all the terrible stuff in Gaza and Lebanon? Any promises there? No. The bar is in hell, even with her. And people are saying to any celebrity who says they won't vote for Kamala Harris, oh, you just must hate the LGBT community. The bar is in hell for everything right now, and we have no standards for anything. So that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.